Most people believe retirement is something you figure out later, in your 50s, maybe even your 60s, when it finally feels close enough to worry about. But the truth is much less comfortable. By the time you start thinking seriously about retirement, a large part of the outcome has already been decided, and not recently, years ago, during a decade that most people completely underestimate, your 40s. Imagine two people. They grew up in similar environments. They made roughly the same income. They didn't inherit wealth. They didn't start businesses. Nothing extreme, just normal, stable lives. For the first 20 years of their careers, they look almost identical. Same type of house, same level of spending, same financial progress. Nothing dramatic, nothing that suggests their futures will be different. But then something subtle begins to happen. Not in their 20s, not even in their 30s, but in their 40s. At first you wouldn't notice it. There's no big event, no obvious turning point, just small decisions, quiet ones, decisions that feel completely reasonable at the time. One of them starts saving a little more, not aggressively, just intentionally. They begin to take their future more seriously. They increase contributions. They avoid unnecessary upgrades. They think long term. The other does something that feels just as reasonable. They relax. They've worked for years. They've built stability. And now they want to enjoy it. So they upgrade a few things. A slightly better home. A slightly nicer car. More comfortable vacations. Nothing extreme. Just a better version of life. And here's what makes this so dangerous. Both people feel like they're making the right choice. Neither feels irresponsible. Neither feels like they're making a mistake. But fast forward 20 years, and their lives look completely different. One has options. The other has obligations. One wakes up with freedom. The other wakes up with pressure. And the difference wasn't created by one big decision. It was created by dozens of small ones, all made during one decade. Your 40s are not important because they are harder. They are important because they are more powerful. This is the only period in your life where three critical forces overlap, and when they combine, they create leverage that you will never have again. The first force is income. By your 40s, you are likely earning more than ever before, not just percentage increases, actual dollars. You're no longer proving yourself. You've already done that. Now you're being paid for your experience, your reliability, your ability to solve problems others can't, which means something very simple. You finally have capacity, not just enough to get by, but enough to build something meaningful. The second force is time, and this is where most people misunderstand everything. At 40, time is no longer abundant, but it is still incredibly valuable. Your money still has enough years ahead of it to grow, to multiply, to compound into something significant. But this window is closing, quietly, year by year. At 45, your money has less time. At 50, even less. At 55, the game changes entirely. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot replace time. You can earn more money. You can cut expenses. You can take risks. But once time is gone, it's gone. The third force is stability. By your 40s, your life starts to settle. Your biggest expenses stop growing as aggressively. You're not constantly upgrading everything. You're not starting from zero anymore. Your lifestyle becomes predictable, manageable, and for the first time, you have margin. Not a lot, but enough to matter. And that margin has to go somewhere. It will either build your future or upgrade your present. Most people don't consciously choose, they drift. They let their lifestyle expand just enough to absorb everything. A slightly bigger home, a slightly higher payment, a slightly more expensive routine. Nothing feels excessive, but nothing is left over either. And that is how opportunity disappears, not through bad decisions, but through invisible ones. Because money that could have been invested gets quietly converted into lifestyle. And lifestyle has one major problem: it doesn't multiply. A nicer car doesn't grow. A bigger house doesn't generate freedom. A more expensive lifestyle doesn't create options. It just becomes normal. And that's where the trap closes, because humans adapt incredibly fast. What feels like an upgrade today feels average in a year, and once it feels normal, it becomes impossible to give up. So you don't just spend more once, you lock yourself into spending more forever. And every dollar locked into your lifestyle is a dollar that never works for your future. Now let's talk about something even more important: the illusion of "I deserve this." By your 40s, you absolutely do deserve more. You've worked, you've sacrificed, you've built something. Wanting a better life is not the problem. The problem is misunderstanding what better actually means. Most people define better as more comfort, more convenience, more visible success, but real better is something else entirely. It's control. Control over your time, control over your decisions, control over whether you have to work or choose to. And that kind of control is not built through spending, it's built through restraint. That's the part no one likes to hear, because restraint feels like missing out, especially when everyone around you is upgrading. Your friends are buying bigger homes. Your co-workers are driving nicer cars, your neighbors are renovating everything, and you feel like you're falling behind. But you're not. You're just playing a different game. They are optimizing for today. You are optimizing for the rest of your life. And those two paths look very similar in the beginning, but they separate over time, slowly, then suddenly. Because money compounds. But so do decisions. Every choice you make in your 40s doesn't just affect today, it echoes forward. A higher payment today becomes 20 years of reduced flexibility. A missed investment today becomes decades of lost growth. And the scariest part? You don't feel it immediately. The consequences are delayed, which makes it easy to ignore, easy to justify, easy to repeat, until one day, it's no longer small. It's your entire reality. Now imagine yourself later in life, not next year, not 5 years from now, but decades from now. You wake up in the morning, everything is quiet. In one version of your life, you feel calm. You're not thinking about money constantly. You're not worried about unexpected expenses. You're not dependent on a paycheck. You have options. You can travel. You can rest. You can help your family. You can say no. In the other version, you feel something different. Not panic, but pressure. You still have to think about money. You still have to be careful. You still have to make decisions based on necessity. Not because you failed, but because you never created enough space. And both of these futures come from the same place, your 40s, not your income, not your luck, not your intelligence, just your decisions. So what actually matters? Not perfection, not extreme sacrifice, just awareness. Understanding that this decade carries more weight than it seems, that every upgrade has a hidden cost, that every dollar has an alternative future, and that the life you want later is built by what you're willing to delay today. Because your 40s are not about restriction. They are about direction. They are the decade where your future stops being flexible and starts becoming fixed. And whether you realize it or not, you are shaping that future right now. The decade will pass anyway. Time will move forward no matter what you do. The only question is, what are you building while it does? Because one day, you will live the result of this decade. And when that day comes, you won't care about the upgrades you made. You'll care about the freedom you created.